What's up, YouTubes? As again, I think I messed up the intro, so I'm trying to mess with all the settings and stuff, and I think it actually went live. But we are here with Luke Berger from Kraken Rigging. I'm sorry, Kraken Structures. Luke is a rigger, badass one. This is where I got all of the stuff for my boat. It was from this man right here. So we need questions. We're going to answer your questions. We're going to talk about boats. We're going to talk about rigging. We're going to show you different kinds of line. We're going to basically go over with the master everything you need to know and what you have questions about on changing your running rigging to Dyneema, what types are better to splice. We might even get into boat building because Luke is going to build a Shione.
Someday.
Yeah, and it'll be fun. So stay tuned. Think about some questions that you'd like to ask Luke about anything Dyneema. But welcome, and we'll be right back. Okay, what's up? Let's jump in.
Usually when I start these videos on my channel, I say, welcome to the Kraken Rigging Bench, and I'm really happy to have James here at my actual rigging bench where I made everything for sailing vessel Zingaro.
And you're currently working on another YouTube channel boat, sailing, oh, that's a secret.
It's kind of a secret, but I am doing rigging for another boat, so you'll get to see if you're subscribed to your channel, and you can find out from my channel when those videos are produced a little bit early in 2019. So there's going to be a whole nother boat with all Kraken rigging, dead eyes, similar to, well, they're exactly the same as James's boat. So I can actually show them to you, but I'm not going to tell you what boat they're on, and then you will get to see these. So this is actually generation 2 of the same. It's the same concept, but I made some improvements. So these are going to be going on another boat that is halfway around the world from where I live. So you'll see these on another channel again, a whole setup and a whole synthetic rigging, everything. So that's coming soon.
Guys, though, look at how bad these look. These is Turk knots. They're ridiculously hard to do, and you did a really good job. These are getting sick, brother.
So if you guys follow James's previous videos, you know that's a tensioning system. So when you do Dyneema rigging, you wanna replace your turnbuckles. Turnbuckles are really expensive in the larger sizes. They require maintenance. They can rust. They usually last a really long time, but we did dead eyes. They're a little more user intensive as far as tensioning and tuning your rig. But over the long term, they're completely impervious to corrosion. And that's one of the biggest goals. And weight. Weight is a big issue that we're tackling by using synthetic rigging. But today, we're also going to talk about Dyneema and synthetics because you can use Dyneema for your running rigging. And since James is out there sailing, I work at my rigging bench. So I do a lot of stuff with the standing rigging. But James is actively out there sailing, and he can say, like, look, this works or this doesn't work for your running rigging applications. So we're also going to talk about running rigging and also like smaller Dyneema projects that you can do, like little improvements, things that come in handy. Also, they're a great way to practice if you want to step up your skills and be your own rigger and do your own splicing, your own knots and things like that.
Well said, sir. Well, let's get right into it, man. I got a bunch of questions for you right here, and we're going to tackle these together.
Lay them on me, man.
While he's talking and answering these questions, I am going to be reading the notes that you guys have questions on and writing them down. So don't pay attention to me, just listen to him. Okay, so first, let's explain what Dyneema is for somebody that doesn't know.
All right, so we got some samples of Dyneema right here. So let me grab a short piece.
Oh, short piece.
Let's find a short piece. So, all right, here's a piece. This is a piece of Dyneema. This happens to be 7 millimeter, and this actually happens to be, this is actually Dynice ducks, which a lot of people are familiar with. But essentially, Dyneema is a synthetic fiber. It's an ultra-high molecular weight plastic, and believe it or not, this plastic is the same plastic that your milk jugs are made out of. So what they do is they pull that plastic into an extremely fine filament. It's literally finer than a human hair. And then they start spinning it into twines, and then the twines are later woven into a traditional 12-strand single braid. So if I kind of flex this open, you can see this opens. So if you're familiar with the core construction of your regular polyester ropes, this is practically the same thing. But this stuff is ridiculously strong. It's stronger than steel. So I don't have the exact numbers with me, but just by memory, the Dynice ducks it's around 15 to 17,000, 15,500 pounds in tensile strength. Now we're not going to talk about safe working loads because that is application dependent. But if you were to be replacing a steel wire of the same size, this would still be 2 times as strong, but this weighs practically nothing. So that's what Dyneema is. It is a synthetic rope that is way stronger than steel, and at the same time it's way lighter and practically impervious. It is impervious to water and corrosion. So
and it floats.
And it floats. It floats.
Which is cool because I drop crap over the side all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, question number 2. You guys get what it is. Plastic line, really, really, really strong stuff. This is what a lot of people are using for sailboat rigging and running rigging. Now, the difference between this and a line that you would use for running rigging.
So we have a bunch of lines back here. Yeah, so on the outside, this, I believe this is Samson. Let's see. Yeah, this is Samson Warp Speed 2, and this is 3/8. So on the outside, it's nice green jacket, and the jacket is polyester. But the core, let's see if I can pull out some of the core from the end. Okay, so here's the end of the line, and you just pull the jacket back. Actually, this is melted a little bit, so it's not gonna, let's see if I can get this to pull out. So I've got the core out, and the core is Dyneema. Now, what does that do? Well, first of all, this line is way stronger than, say, like Stay Set, your traditional polyester line. So it's really strong, and it's going to stretch a lot less when you're using it as a sheet or a halyard. The polyester cover, the outside of the jacket, is for grip.
Very important.
It does add to the strength because the 2 lines together, but really the strength comes from the Dyneema core. The biggest thing about Dyneema in running rigging is much, much less stress. So 2 big things to remember as a cruising sailor, and if you want to upgrade to Dyneema. If you're going to use it as halyards, so like say you pull up your main, you crank it in with the winch and you set it, the line isn't going to stretch and the luff of your sail is not going to loosen up because of line stretch nearly as much as like what James just went and grabbed was this is your Stay Set, New England rope Stay Set, which is, it's an inexpensive rope, it's a good rope, but this stretches a lot more than the Dyneema will. So when using it as a halyard, your jib halyard, your main halyard, get the sail up, get your luff tension, and not have to adjust it maybe a little bit, but not like 5 times an hour because of constant stretch. Also, now when you're talking about sheets, if you have this as your sheet for your head sail, you're going to set your sails, you're going to trim your sails, and this Stay Set is stretchy. And as you're on your point of sail and the winds change a little bit and the line is, you're going to have to keep filling with your sails. This stuff is super strong and it gets really stiff under tension. So when it's used as a sheet, it's going to keep your sail where you want it to be a lot longer, and it's overall stronger. So this is 3/8 Stay Set.
Mm-hmm.
This is 3/8 Dyneema, but you could actually step down a size and use 5/16 Dyneema, which is 8 millimeter.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be stronger still than the Stay Set. So you can have a lighter line if you're concerned about weight, which the racers are. All the racers will use like tapered halyards and not halyards, but tapered sheets. So at the end of the line is a lot lighter. So for cruisers, that weight issue doesn't as matter much. But Dyneema is great because of setting and trimming your sails and keeping it there is the idea.
So I was gonna try to pull the core out of this, but you've already whipped one end of the line and put a splice in the other end of the line.
Yeah.
So your masterful rigging skills have totally screwed me over.
But
But guys, this is called New England Rope Stay Set. It's got, if you can see on this thing, it's got 3 little strands for every single one of these big strands. So each one of these 2 white has 3. Each one of these little green ones has 3. This stuff is the best stuff for your running rigging. If you buy a boat, buy a spool of this. Or you can pay a little more money and buy the
that's the big thing about Dyneema. Dyneema is not cheap, and Stay Set is great rope. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying don't use this stuff. It's horrible for your average cruiser. Stay Set is a great line, and it's more affordable. When you buy Dyneema, there's a premium there. It's going to be expensive. I don't particularly remember how much this stuff is per foot, but I'll tell you it's probably close or more than double what the Stay Set is. So, because we're all about DIY and giving you guys good tips, here's my tip on buying Dyneema, all right? Number 1 is sales, okay? So if you're familiar with, everybody knows West Marine. A lot of people are familiar with Defender online and also Fisheries Supply out of Washington. They have sales. Sign up for their newsletters and you'll get alerted for their sales. And sometimes they have 20, 30, even 40% off bulk line, and you can buy this Dyneema when it's on sale. The other tip is if you live in a place like I do in San Diego, or you live in Florida, San Francisco, Seattle, you have a lot of boat chandleries and rigging shops around you. Normally they have a section in the back where they have like the end spools or cutoff sections, and they sell them for 50% off. So I have a little Catalina 22, and my boat really does not need Dyneema running rigging. But I always got this stuff at practically half off, so I re-rigged my entire boat.
From the local guys, right?
Just from the local guys, yeah, because if it's half off, well, then maybe it's worth the upgrade. So it depends on your boat and it depends on your needs. But even if you have a cruising boat, I would highly recommend at least your main halyards be Dyneema, just because of the stretch factor.
Dyneema with, not just straight Dyneema, but Dyneema with the cover, right?
it needs to be covered. There's applications to use uncovered Dyneema, but for your halyards, they're going to be traveling over sheaves.
Yeah.
There's going to be chafe possibilities, and they're going to go into a winch, and they're also going to go into your clutch.
And into your hands, which is one thing that is really important, and why I say with this stuff, this is really good stuff, this Stay Set line. They sell some cheaper stuff that has 2 strands and some stuff that only has 1 big thick one. The cheaper the line, the harder it is on your hands. Like we changed our spinnaker to one of those cheap polyester ropes with no braiding.
Yeah,
it's crap. The line doesn't coil well. It doesn't feel good in your hands. It hurts. And when you're sailing for days at a time, it really is hard on your hands. So having something like this or like this is way better than having something like that. This is too slippery, and it'll cut you, and it just won't be.
This is Amsteel, and you guys should be familiar with that because James uses a lot of it on his boat. That's his standing rigging as well as the lashing lines on the dead eyes. But this is basically uncovered, so it's Dyneema. So this is what makes up the core of a rope like this. But Dyneema is incredibly slippery. It does not hold knots well at all. You should never put knots in regular Dyneema. You should always splice it. But if you have Dyneema for your running rigging that has a polyester or say a polyester Technora blend, you can put knots in it. You need the friction of the cover to hold the knot.
Yeah. Okay, so from S. Bonafla, Florida, I'm guessing. Yeah, he just donated us $100, man. Thank you so much.
Rock, dude.
Dude, I need new solar panels, my friend, and you just bought one for us. So I gotta get 2 more, and you're the man. Really, really, really. I mean, right now we are so dead broke because I had to replace the chain, the rod, the solar panels, the forestay, my drone got stolen, and all of this together is like all of our lunch money. So thank you very, very, very much from the bottom of Kim Mino's hearts. You guys are awesome.
Hey, Jamie, you know what that reminds me? We should tell them why, when you rig with Dyneema, why do you still use a wire forestay?
Ah, good questions. So you can't see under the under the way that the furler works is it's a big aluminum tube that goes up in and has the wire inside it, and you're never going to be able to see any chafe.
Yeah, well, so you've got the furling drum and you've got that aluminum foil, and that is the way that most people's furling systems are built. And what you can't see on the inside of that foil, and every manufacturer does it different. There's like actually little bearings, like plastic bearings that go around the wire, and then it allows the foil to turn around the forestay. Now, that thing's made of aluminum, and there's a lot of points of friction where if you had a forestay that was made out of Dyneema, it could just cut right through this and shred it.
Easy.
Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of racers out there, people with really big budgets, and they do have synthetic forestays. There are possible ways to do a synthetic forestay, but that technology it hasn't trickled down yet.
And I bet you they're changing their forestay out after like every couple races.
Yeah, their forestay takes a lot of damage from chafe, and the bottom line is for the average cruiser, if you rig with Dyneema for your standing rigging, you're going to stick with a wire forestay most likely if you have a furling system, because you don't want to spend like what, $7,000 on replacing your whole foil system and furler just because you want to use a synthetic forestay. It's just not worth the upcharge.
Okay, let's get to some questions that you guys have been asking. And one, since you're talking about cost, is what would the cost be to change out the entire rig to, well, minus the forestay, on a 30-foot boat?
So for a 30-foot boat, and like my favorite answer, you guys are going to love this, my favorite answer is it depends. So, okay, we have to consider a couple things. Okay, we're going to change the whole, this was standing rigging or running rigging?
Standing.
Standing rigging, okay, so you've got average, average rig boat, average...
okay, so we have two top shrouds, two intermediate shrouds, two check stays, a backstay, and then the forestay is going to be like, it's wire, and it's going to cost you between $200 and $400 to $500 depending on the size of your boat.
The bottom line is you can change out your boat's rigging to synthetic for about the same price as wire. You're going to save money in certain places, and other areas are going to cost you a little bit more. So, for example, on a wire rig, and I don't have any wire rigging here because I don't work with wire rigging. So you have a termination on the end of every wire, right?
Yeah,
and those terminations cost $12 to $15 for each one.
That's just for the part.
That's just for the part. And then you have to pay a professional rigger because he has a big hydraulic machine, and you're going to pay him $12 to $15 for the swage, the actual machining. So $12 to $15 fittings times, I think it's 16, because you're talking about total of 8 shrouds.
That's correct.
16 fittings times $15, and then $15 in labor to swage it on. You're not going to need to spend any of that money on synthetic rigging.
Yeah.
Now, for a 30-foot boat, you're probably going to use 5mm heat annealed Dyneema, and the cost per foot is, I don't have any numbers in front of me. I didn't expect this question. It's probably going to be a little bit more than wire, but remember, you just saved money.
It's about the same.
I think
it's just nominally more.
It depends on where you shop and who you buy from, but you can get the wire, the Dyneema in one size in millimeters larger than the wire, and it's going to be almost 3 times as strong with a lot less weight, and you're going to end up about the same price or less overall than wire. It just really depends on the boat, and also the big question is, are you sticking with turnbuckles for tensioning, or are you going with dead eyes? Because that makes a huge difference in labor cost. Because this guy, I'm the one who has to end up splicing, and it's a lot easier, faster, and there's a lower risk of measurement error using dead eyes. With turnbuckles, I have to be incredibly, incredibly precise at the eye-to-eye measurement, and it takes longer. So yes, you can use turnbuckles, but it actually adds cost to use turnbuckles. So it depends on what you need, but generally speaking, about the same, maybe a little less. Do some bargain shopping.
Okay,
pull it off.
So basically, to talk numbers for a second, what we're saying is if you have 8 shrouds on a 30-foot boat and you want to swage both ends of the shrouds, it's going to cost you about $3,600 just for the swage fittings and the labor to swage them all.
Swage them.
And that's not including the wire. So now you need to add the length of the wire that you need.
And that's not including them coming, if you want them to install it on your boat, pier side. And I don't know where it is in the rest of the United States, but riggers that come out to your boat charge around $100 an hour.
But
$100 an hour.
That said, you can re-rig a 30-foot boat in probably a day or two. Right?
Yeah. You can do one shroud at a time, so you can use a halyard to support the line that you're taking, the shroud that you're taking down. You can use a halyard, take it down, and just do one. It's a lot longer to do that rather than using a crane, but you don't want to pay $1,400
or you can just measure them all and then go have them all made and then bring them to your boat and then put them all on there. And then it's really not that hard to do yourself. But having a rigger at the end of the job come and tune it's probably a good idea for anybody that doesn't have the skills. But there's so many people, if you're at a marina, that know how to do that you can ask, you can read, you can watch YouTube, you can learn how to do that yourself.
In the 30-foot boat range, your mast isn't so tall and your rigging isn't so big that it's not something that a boat owner can handle themselves in a bosun chair. As long as you know how to climb your mast safely, you can do all the work you need to do.
So let's get back to Dyneema rigging. So right now we're at $3,600 for the fittings for wire rigging, plus the wire, plus the labor to do it. So it's expensive. So if you're doing Dyneema, that $3,600 in fittings would now be transferred into these types of things, like the fittings that go here, the toggles that go underneath it, that connect to your chain plates, the thimbles that go on the top that get spliced onto the Dyneema, and then the whipping that goes in between the thimble and here. That's
what we use. This is for the lashing. Now, actually, keep in mind though, if you use the Deadeyes, you don't need to buy new turnbuckles. And turnbuckles for bigger boats are what, $150, $175 each one if you're like above 3/8. 3/8, 7/16. They're really, really pricey.
Now let's talk about doing this yourself. If you do this yourself, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm pretty good with boats and I'm pretty good with my hands, and the difference, if you watch my videos and you see the difference between my work and his work, it's phenomenally opposite. Mine looks like a little kid came in there and spliced some bullshit together, and his looks super pro. So it is a big learning curve to try to do it yourself and try to do it well. Just warning you guys, but it is completely possible. And my work was actually fairly good. I mean, the mast didn't come down.
It lasted a good few thousand sea miles.
Yeah. Okay, so B-Bax wants to know how many rusty trombones should I give you to personally change out my standing rigging? That's going to be a lot, buddy.
My favorite answer, it depends.
You should see if Amazon has the solar panels you want, add them to your wish list. Oh, you know what, brother? I can't get solar panels where the boat is right now. We're in Ecuador, and they have 100% tax on any kind of luxury item. So trying to order them and ship them to Ecuador would be cost prohibitive, unfortunately. So I have to buy them in already imported into the country in Ecuador, which is part of the cruising thing. Like it's a pain in the ass to try to get anything. So when we're in the States, we're going to bring back small stuff. Camera lenses, camera equipment, rope. I'm going to buy a whole roll of this stuff. This is, like I said, Stay Set. If you guys are just joining us, this is Stay Set triple braid. Awesome rope. It's really easy to coil. It's really easy in your hands. It doesn't cut your hands when you use it. Don't go cheap on running rigging. Do not buy that polyester stuff off Amazon that's cheap. It's too stiff and it's shit.
There's a huge difference between ropes that are made by companies like New England Ropes, Maxell, Samson, and that stuff that's at Home Depot on the spool. That stuff, UV will destroy it very fast and it will get really, really weak really quick. So I am not associated with any of these rope companies. They don't pay me a darn thing, but I've seen it. I've seen it happen, and you don't want to take those kind of risks with your boat.
All right, so I'm writing down your questions, guys. We're getting to them. So let's talk about the two big questions that everybody asks about Dyneema. What about the UV, and what about the chafe?
All right, so yes, Dyneema is susceptible to UV damage, and there is some data out there, but remember, Dyneema hasn't been around for like 30 years, at least not in the sailing world. So there's not a lot of affirmative data, but this is what we kind of know so far. Dyneema that is uncovered, okay, so no UV protection, is good for about 5 to 8 years, depending on your, like, say if you're in the tropics or not in the tropics, so on and so forth. How can you tell that Dyneema has UV damage? Well, when you look at the Dyneema, so here's like the single braid, this is the amp steel, and I'm looking at this and it's clean, it's smooth, and if you were to look at it real close, you can start seeing actual broken fibers, really, really tiny hairs, like it needs a shave. That's what happens to the Dyneema as it starts to break down. You get those very, very fine little shreds. But generally speaking, 5 to 8 years. Now, when you cover Dyneema, now if you're using running rigging that already comes with a polyester cover on it, the line is good for really as long as any rope that you would normally use in running rigging. You know, if the cover is all beat up and starting to get torn, and that, you know, that's when it's time to retire the rope. But it protects the core from UV. Now, if you're using Dyneema for standing rigging, let me grab some of this. So this is a Chafe sleeve that is actually made of Dyneema. And you can cover the Dyneema with this. This is made by New England Ropes. It comes in white. You can dye it. Some companies, including New England, they will make this in dark gray or black. But you cover your standing rigging with this stuff, and the lifespan of Dyneema as standing rigging is, as far as we know, it's forever. I mean, after several years, this cover might get really messed up and you could replace it, but when you pull it off the core is probably going to be just fine as long as you're protecting it. Now, Dyneema is really slippery as well. So when you put this on the standing rigging, especially on your cap shrouds where your foresail, if you have an overlapping foresail, which most Bermuda rig boats do, it's going to protect not only the Dyneema shroud itself, but the sail. Because when Dyneema is tensioned as a cap shroud, it's like a saw. It can damage your sail as much as wire can. So you want to cover it to protect both the sail and the shroud itself.
Now you don't have to. So my boat is not covered. This stuff is crazy expensive.
Yeah, this stuff is almost, well, when you buy it from West Marine it is, but
how much is it?
This stuff right here is almost $250 a foot. And this is just the smaller stuff. This stuff is good for like 5 to 8 millimeter. This is the medium size. So you would need one size bigger for your 10 millimeter. And at least at West Marine, now that's the worst retail price out there is West Marine. But there's better places to order it. And I get it by the spool directly from the manufacturer. So I'm telling you.
Yeah, but I'm not going to buy a spool of that. You know, at West Marine, the bigger size is what, $4 a foot or $3.50?
Yeah, it gets really expensive.
That's insane.
So you can go uncovered 5 to 8 years, and then you're going to start noticing those fine hairs, those broken strands. But it depends on your application. I mean, if you have a race boat that you pull out of the water every season, remember that's 5 to 8 years of actual sun exposure. So if it's out of the water for half the year, then it's more like 10 years. So if you want to save the weight and save the cost on a race boat, don't even cover it. A lot of racers don't.
But on a cruising boat, I mean, when I get to, Marlowe is made in Australia, right?
Yeah, Marlowe comes out of the UK, but we're talking about the other guys that I emailed out there.
There's another company.
Donahay's.
There's another company that makes this in Australia. So when we get to Australia, I'm going to buy a roll of this stuff directly from them and recover all of the Dyneema on my boat with this stuff. Because if you have this, it not only looks cool, but I mean, show them the way that you lash those together. Like,
it's going to take a second. I'm going to undo this real quick and show you. Well,
check it out.
Yeah, well, that's a Dyneema infinite loop. So it covers the Dyneema core, and you can see where the stitching is right in the middle. So that's a Dyneema tuck, and then the throat is sewn shut. But I got to undo this because it's actually attached to the bench with some rubber bands per se for tension.
What the heck is this for, dude? Is this for like a 60-foot boat? This is crazy, man.
I was just messing around with making things massively overstrength just because, I screw around like that.
You're funny, dude.
Let me
You guys want to see this bench? Hold on, I need to eject my hard drives real quick. Eject. I'm always working with like 20,000 things coming off my computer, and Kimmy gets really mad when I screw it up. She doesn't want to screw up the hard drives. All right, so check this out.
Yeah, I have to apologize because it's kind of a mess. I mean, like I'm always working on things on this bench, so the bench is like butcher block, you know. I just bought it from a cabinet store, and I do all my rigging work right on the bench because I can cut rope like right on the bench. And we have the lights turned off because they're too glary for the camera, but I've got a bunch of lights and show them the winch on the end. So when I need to tension stuff, this is a giant Harkin winch.
That's a big one.
It's a big one. It came off of a big racing trimaran. So,
and he even like reinforced the bench on the bottom side because when he was doing strength testing, he almost broke the bench. So.
Yeah, I almost broke the bench. So there's a steel frame underneath the table now to keep it from bending.
That's the steel frame underneath. All right, cool. Is that neat? I wish I had a real camera, but you know, I just don't. Sorry. I can't even imagine what people are saying right now. I'm like, well, what is this craziness? I don't care. So this is what this is right here, and the other end is attached to the table. I can't take it any farther out, but so this would be like the thimble where you would do your upper shroud termination. So this is what it looks like when you cover a Dyneema line with the Dyneema chafe sleeve. And it's there to protect it from UV and chafe. And then right down here, you can't really see it too well, but it's actually, this is tucked in and the throat is sewn all the way around. That's bitchin', man. That's really nice work. Seriously, that's really cool. I want that. I want it. But where's our questions at? Yeah, right here, man. So we got a question about splicing double braid versus Dyneema. So here's a double braid splice. Actually, this is triple blade, but or do they call this double braid? It's still double braid, but the way that they build it, they have more braids, more picks in the fibers. It's just, and that's what creates it. But what a double braid is, you've got the polyester core and then you've got a polyester cover. So splicing this versus say, I had that one in my hand a second ago. This is good. Well, that's single braid. And it's actually different, and I'll show you. You're talking about the black one, right? Let me go grab it. Yeah, the black one. So he's going to go grab one because I'm going to show you what a failed splice looks like because, you know, I really like helping people learn this stuff, but believe me, it's not easy, and you can have failures, and James is grabbing a piece right now that is actually a splice failure, but you can look up these videos on YouTube on how to do this type of splice. It's called a core-dependent I-splice, right? The practice is generally the same for Dyneema, but there's some other things you have to take into consideration. So this is single braid. When it doesn't have a cover, it's called single braid. So we're going to put that aside, and we're going to talk about that later because somebody asked about double braid. So a core-dependent I-splice on stay set is much easier to do because this has a lot more flexibility and it stretches more. So you can look up videos on YouTube. I don't personally make a lot of those videos like that. You should, dude. Well, there's really, really good ones from like Premium Ropes. They make excellent splicing videos. That's true, they do. So check out Premium Ropes. They have this I-splice for regular polyester double braid. Now, the thing about doing a Dyneema cord line, now this is a big half-inch. This is massive. This is super yacht size, and the only reason it's nice for a halyard. I use half-inch on my sheets. Yeah. On my sheets, I'm sorry. Halyard. But I did an I-splice on this, and it failed. And so what happens with this stuff is because it does not stretch nearly as much as polyester. This is a crazy thing, and you'll have to watch a splicing video on seeing the process, but the core is tucked inside of the cover, and then it's tucked back into the core, and then it's pulled down into the rope. And this jacket right here is so tight that this is as hard as a brick. Yeah, that's really hard. And if you don't get the absolute perfect formula of length and tuck and everything else, what happens is this becomes so tight that this will not bury down into here. Now, I've done this splice dozens of times on different brands of ropes, and I'll tell you that different brands splice better than others. And Samson Warp Speed 2 and also MLX,
they have a very tightly woven cover, and they're very, very, very difficult to splice, and it doesn't always work. And I show you this because this is what a failure looks like, and I'm going to end up having to cut this off and do a completely different type of splice to finish the eye on the end of this. This is supposed to be a halyard for a super big boat. So,
okay, done with splicing. Let's move on. Are you done? Are you done?
Yeah. Splicing is not easy. It takes practice.
Yeah. So don't get that. What was the two things that you shouldn't get? If you want to splice. Now you don't have to splice it.
Well, single braid is super easy to splice.
Yeah, way easy.
Single braid is super easy to splice. There's two splices you can use: a traditional long berry splice, and you can also use the locking brubble splice.
If you want to know those, watch my YouTube channel. I have some.
Yeah, James
videos.
covered those.
We're not going to cover those today. So the different types of covered line. This is like the super cool shit. This is the stuff that's expensive that comes with Dyneema inside it, and all of the big boats that are made now. Like if you go out to Outremer and buy a boat, this is what it comes with because this is the best stuff. But it's also very expensive. So you said that the Samson
MLX and Samson Warp Speed 2 both have a very I think MLX is Marlowe MLX Samson. They have a 32 plate cover. It's a very tightly woven cover, and it's just really difficult to splice.
Okay, cool. So let's move on now. Sailing Oria, what's up, brother? Thanks for tuning in. He says, are the Calico terminals worth the money? So please explain the difference between the terminals you can buy from Calico and the terminals that you make, and then in your opinion, honestly, you can be honest, my friend.
All right, I'm going to be honest, guys. These are Calico terminals, okay? I think Calico makes a really, really nice product. They're fantastic. There's nothing wrong with them. But these are $75 for just one, and you need two of them to make a dead eye system. That's $150. As a rigger, I'm not going to say these are bad, but when I developed these for James, because I have a small boat, my boat doesn't need something this big. So I needed a test mule, and I came up with making these dead eyes using stainless steel thimbles, right? I tested these against these, and what I found is that these actually work better. There's actually less friction in the lashings, and there really isn't any, strength-wise, this is an investment cast stainless steel thimble. And plus, the overall strength of this infinite loop is over 25,000 pounds. So I'll explain very quickly how I tested them, because I didn't test them on a boat. What I was looking for was coefficient of friction. And I basically had a 100-pound bucket of concrete. And I set up the deadeye, and I used the system to just lift the concrete off the ground. And what I found is there's a lot of friction in the aluminum deadeye. So are they worth it? Well, they're very pretty and they are very well made. But when I have these, I'm going to be able to offer these for about $65 for a complete set.
Oh yeah, right?
Yeah, so it's
like less than half the...
So this plus you'd get one more thimble that actually has to splice into the bottom of your shroud. So that's $65, whereas each one of these is $75, and you need two of them for every shroud. So, I think the bottom line is it might not necessarily be worth it, the extra cost.
It's all to each his own. There's an advantage of having the lashing lines separated like that.
So separating the lashing holes prevents line jump. So when you're tensioning the system, if you tension it too fast, the line can jump and they can cross over, and if they cross over, they won't move.
They're a pain to get out. So let's talk about retrofitting. We had two different questions on what retrofitting with chafe. Like in my boat, I have all Dyneema, like uncovered Dyneema like this, just regular 12-stand Dyneema, and I want to put some chafe sleeve on it. How difficult is it, and what is the process of taking that out? I actually have to remove the entire line, undo the splice, make it into one line, cover it, and then do the berry splice like this, but One that works.
Well, no, and actually the splice actually is totally different.
Like
It's a much easier splice to do this.
This one?
Yeah. So with a core dependent eye splice, the reason it's called core dependent is because the cover is actually part of the strength of the rope. With this, the Dyneema chafe sleeve does not add to the strength at all. It is there only for UV and chafe protection. You're not relying on the strength of this cover. The splice on this is not as difficult to do. However, guys like me who do this professionally, do I want to give away my secrets? I mean, I'm going to tell James, but if you need this done, all I'm going to say is I would like to do it for you because I need to get paid. But what the secret I'm going to tell you is it's not that hard. You can figure it out.
That was the secret. So let's see. What material do you use for whipping?
So there's really there's two different things you can use for whipping, and really grab the Dyneema thread over there.
Yeah, here you go.
And then right behind you, grab the regular polyester thread.
Okay, this is this stuff.
No, this is the black or the blue. Doesn't matter. So whipping on the ends. Oh, I just dropped everything. so doing whipping is really, it's just waxed polyester, and this one happens to be black. But I have like all kinds of colors. I have red, green, yellow.
And where'd you buy that?
I get this at local chandleries. This is actually Maxell, and you know, it's just a polyester line, and you can get it in all kinds of colors. Because this is never really under any kind of load. It's just for whipping, so you don't have to use anything special. Now they do make whipping twine out of Dyneema, and it's pretty darn expensive. This little spool of FSC Robline whipping twine is $18.
That's crazy.
It's nuts. Why would you use Dyneema whipping twine? I don't actually whip a lot of ropes with this. If I want to dye it a different color, I might use this. But I really use Dyneema whipping twine to do lock stitching in Dyneema splices. But here's a little secret that I want to tell you guys about Dyneema whipping twine. This line right here is basically the same exact thing as this. It's 1 millimeter Dyneema, and this is bright green, which is my color, right? So, and it comes in this little this thing. So, the advice is that this is made for a different industry. It's not made for marine use, but it's the same exact stuff. This is called bow serving twine. So when they make the lines, the strings for bow and arrow, they wrap this stuff around. That's what this little spool is for wrapping around like this. So this spool of bright green 1 millimeter Dyneema twine is $8 because it comes from like a hunting store. Whereas you go to a marine store, this is $18. So you can find Dyneema in a lot of places that is, if it's not called marine, it's going to cost less.
So Charlie Leem just donated us $100, and he says, this is a great discussion. Also, thanks for the continuous La Vida Broca repair and maintenance videos for us thrifty sailors. Dude, 2 solar panels. Yes.
Nice.
Yes. All right. That's really awesome, man. Thank you very much. I'm not kidding. I'm buying solar panels with that. That's huge for us. Huge. If you guys don't know this yet, we are being sponsored by Spectra Watermakers, and we're getting a new water maker. And we're going to go to the factory. We're going to tour the factory. We're going to do a bunch of filming. We're going to meet all the guys. We're going to see how they make them. And then I've got some SolidWorks animations that I'm going to go over why I chose a Clark pump, because we chose them. They didn't reach out to us. It was like a big, long, 6-month thing on, what we can do and how we can work together. And in return for the water maker, I'm going to make some videos, and they're going to be super cool. I mean, they gave me a bunch of SolidWorks animations, and I'm going to go over every single piece and how to install it, the different kinds of water makers. It'll be really neat. So I'm super, super excited about that. Point being, I need new solar panels for the water maker. It runs off 12 volts. So thank you very much, Charlie. You're the man. Let's get to the next question. What about Dyneema for a Hank-on sale? Can you use a Dyneema force stay for a Hank-on?
I'm going to show you, and this kind of gets into what we were going to talk about with small projects. One of the things that you can make for yourself, you can make these yourself, and you've probably seen these before. These are Dyneema soft shackles. So it's a little piece of Dyneema, and if you haven't seen these before, if you've seen them before, I don't mean to be patronizing, but So you got a Dyneema soft shackle. On one end is a diamond knot. It's a big, very firm knot. And then the other end is this little loop. And then you just open the loop up and you go around and you put it in there. And then boom. This thing is ridiculously strong. It basically, what it does is it replaces a carabiner that's made out of aluminum. And it's soft. And you can make these for like, what, $1.40 in material?
Yeah, there's some idiot that has a YouTube video about how to make those. I can't
remember that dude's name. Yeah. So if you can make these out of lots of different sizes. This happens to be made out of 7/32 am steel, and you can make them. You can use up to 1/4 inch. I've made 1/4 inch ones. They're way too big. You don't need them for anything unless you have a super big yacht. But anyway, this soft shackle, the strength rating is 230% of the single line breaking strength.
That's amazing.
So if you have a Hank on sale, you need a small size. You don't need big stuff. The 7/32 would be fine. And you can make the loop even a little bit smaller than this. And you just make a bunch of these. And you use these, and they call them soft Hanks. Now keep in mind, if you're using soft Hanks, you need to have a soft forestay. So you actually use a Dyneema forestay. If you're using Hank on sales, it makes it easier to do a synthetic forestay.
I didn't know that.
And make sure you do a covered forestay, because the Dyneema chafe sleeve makes it really nice and slippery. So you're going to have like, what, depending on how big your luff is, you're going to have like 18 or 20 of these soft Hanks. And they will just slip right up.
That's awesome. I didn't even know you do that.
Yeah,
that's super sick.
Just use soft shackles.
And what does a roll of this stuff cost? Like $200?
Well, if you buy the whole roll, but you don't even need the whole roll. There's a website called l-36.com, and he has his guy's name is Alan. He's really cool. I've talked to him before. He's been really super helpful. He has there's different methods to make these, and he has nice little tutorials on each one. And he even has a little calculator that says, well, I want to use this size of line, and it tells you how long of a piece to cut. So like, here's the thing. Go down to your chandlery, you can buy like 10 feet or 12 feet, and you can probably make 4 or 5 soft shackles out of 10 or 12 feet of material. And all you need is a couple of fids.
Dude, Breezy just gave me my third solar panel.
Wow, you guys are awesome.
Yes, thank you.
You guys are awesome.
You guys are super awesome. Thank you so much. That's done. That was the last thing I needed before going to the Easter Island, man. So that's for the end of the conversation. Let's get back to the solar panels. Breezy, man, yes, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Oh, you know what? I'm out of questions. So let's get back to the discussion, because I have some points that we wanted to go over about whipping. So how do you cut Dyneema?
Well, here's another great tip on saving a ton of money. You can use scissors to cut Dyneema, but you need a specific kind of scissors. We got a spinning thing. Are we screwed up or what?
Oh, I don't know. Hold on.
No, we're good. I think we're good. Okay, so scissors. If you buy scissors to cut Dyneema, you need to make sure that the scissors are specifically made for cutting. They're never really gonna say Dyneema, but if they're scissors that are marked cutting aramid, like say Kevlar, and really what it is the blades are serrated. You're probably not going to be able to see it on camera, but the metal blades on these scissors are serrated like teeth. Now, these scissors are made by Klaus, and let's see if we can see the label on there. These you can get on Amazon for about $25. There are other scissors out there made by companies that are directly, marketed towards the marine industry, and they'll charge $50, even $60 for the same exact pair of scissors. Now, Klaus, look them up on Amazon. There's a lot of different scissors they sell. Just make sure you're buying the ones that are specifically marked for aramid. And give me a piece of something, and I'm going to cut it real quick. Here's a little piece right here. This is 3mm heat annealed Dyneema, and you just kind of, this will cut. I'm trying not to cover it up, and like, boom, cuts it nice and perfectly clean every time. Now there's the other way. If you cut Dyneema with a knife, you can use sort of a regular knife. I do not recommend using a serrated knife, although it'll work. It'll drag the fibers.
Yeah.
But if as long as your knife is really, really sharp and you cut on a cutting board, put a piece of tape around the line and you can cut it. But the best knives to cut Dyneema are these ceramic knives. And you don't need a special knife that costs a lot of money from a marine company. Just go on Amazon. This knife is by Kyocera. It's a paring knife. And I think it was like 12 or 15 bucks.
Cut off the tools with a paring knife.
So yeah, it's just a ceramic. But you can get these at Walmart, for crying out loud. I have one in my kitchen, but this is my. You can see there's kind of a little smear of Dyneema, like the Sam Thing coating on there. But yeah, so
The dye.
So either the dye. So either a ceramic knife or Klaus scissors. Really good stuff.
And those are titanium, right? So they don't.
No, they're not titanium.
Oh, you didn't get the titanium ones?
No,
They make titanium ones, dude.
Yeah, well, they're titanium nitride coated.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, if they were solid titanium, you could not afford them. It's the blade, the serrated blade. Just make sure on the package it says for cutting aramids, carbon fiber, or Kevlar, and it will cut Dyneema.
Okay, I'm not on the channel anymore. Let's see. Where to buy to save money? We covered that. How much is a stretch? Let's see. We got one more question. What is the tool that you use for adjusting the shroud tension? How do you do that? And can you put a loose gauge on it?
There is a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of misinformation. I didn't expect this question, so I don't have the link for it. But there is some general guidance out there about doing your rig tensioning using a loose gauge. But you have to sort of use a different standard from wire. So really kind of what it is it's trial and error, and it's really, you should be tensioning your rig by eye. You should know and you should understand how your rig is functioning. And when when the windward shroud is taking the tension and the leeward shroud is loose, and then going the other direction, make sure your mast is straight, it's in column. So me personally, I don't use a loose gauge on synthetic shrouds. There's a little bit of trial and error, and you tension it to like a stage 1 reasonable, and then you go out and you sail it, and you see what happens, and then you adjust as necessary. So yes, there's a method. Yes, you can use a loose gauge, but it's still kind of, everybody in the industry is still on a learning curve.
You know what? I just do it by feel. And now that I've re-rigged the boat twice, I really got it down. And basically what you do is you just get it tight. Like you can feel the difference between a rig that's not tight and the rig that's tight. I mean, you shouldn't be able to bend that rig very much. There should be about 1,200 pounds of force on it.
If you have wire rigging, there's way too many people out there who tighten that stuff like a piano wire.
No, you don't want that either.
That's
because
bad.
Then the compression on the top of the boat goes bad, and then it starts dimpling. You want it to be able to bend a little bit. But one thing you don't want to do, and this is a problem that I had, and this is full disclosure. I'll be putting a video out in the next couple of weeks that is cascading backstays. I redid my backstays with a cascading system of frictionless rings that he made me, and I've got about 9 inches of travel on it, so I can actually, I got that new main, and it's got such a roach on it, and my 2 backstays get in the way. So I needed to put something where I could like let one off on the leeward side and pop it outside my sail, so I can get my sail outside and more importantly back inside, because the sail will push out with the wind, but it won't come back. So in order to circumvent that, I put running backstays on it with a 16-to-1 purchase, so I don't have to have the weight of an extra winch. What was the point of that?
It's more complex to do tuning.
Oh yeah, yes. So what happened to me was I didn't tighten those enough, and the mast bent forward and popped a couple slugs out of my Tides Marine track and broke the track. So now I have to cut off a piece and get a new piece of track because I wasn't paying attention. So you have to be careful. It's not just like, well, get it a little bit tight and then go sailing. It's more, get it good and tight and then go sailing, get the stretch out of it. And then while you're sailing, you look up the mast. You put your head right where the base of the mast is, and you watch the way it's bending. And if it's bending, it's always bent one direction. Then you go back to port. You tighten it up a little bit.
Just look at it this way: human beings have been sailing for thousands of years, and we've only had loose gauges since what, the 1960s or 70s?
Yeah, probably.
So yeah, you got to do it by eye and understanding your boat and how it feels and how it's sailing.
All right, talk to us about the one piece of Dyneema we haven't covered yet. Samson Lash It.
Okay, so Samson Lash It is super great stuff for everyone to have on every boat for many, many reasons. It's 2.2 millimeter Dyneema, and it comes in these spools. Now I have the massive 600 foot spools, but you can buy these I think in 160 foot Hank spools. It's useful for everything. Now, first of all, the frapping knot lashings that James uses on his deadeyes, this is what we use to secure the deadeye. After we tighten the lashings, this gets wrapped around really, really, really tight and makes the frapping knot. So that's one use. But other than that, this stuff it's a utility line. It's very inexpensive. Like, you measure it by the foot, it's like pennies. But it is Dyneema. It's a 650 pound tensile strength for this little 2.2 millimeter stuff. And the reason they call it lash it is so you can lash stuff down with it. If you got gear that you need to secure, and because it's Dyneema and it's totally waterproof, it's very, very strong. You don't need to have a ton of it. This has a lot of utility for a lot of different purposes. Now, the one thing that I said earlier, I mentioned, is you don't tie knots in Dyneema. This is the exception. The 2.2 millimeter lash it holds a knot pretty well. So use the right kind of knots and you can lash this stuff. Now, you can also splice this stuff. Well, let me rephrase that. Samson recommends that you don't splice it. I can splice it because you have to use the right kind of fid, which is a very fine wire fid. But regardless, this stuff comes in handy for just about anything like utility purposes and small projects. And it's 650 pounds. That's no small number for a 2 millimeter line.
And it's really easy to put a little, what do they call this knot where you put the damn thing through there? It's called, they use it for hammocks and stuff.
It's a hitch. You'd think we would know all the names of these knots, but seriously, if you're a person that likes knots, buy a book called the Ashley Book of Knots on Amazon, and there's literally 3,000 knots in there. It's crazy.
So whenever you want to tension something like this, just make a loop, have it go over, flip it up, and then put a screwdriver or something in there, and now you have a knot that doesn't come out that you can really put some force on.
I think that's called a munter hitch.
And then it just slips right out.
Yeah.
This stuff is really good for that. I mean, you can hang a hammock with this stuff. You can
hang a hammock. You can lash things. You can fix things. You can repair things that you need to pull something together.
And what's a roll of this cost?
Ooh, well, I bought it in the 600 foot roll, so it's about, I think you can order off Amazon. You get a 160 foot mini spool for about $35.
Mm-hmm.
So if you break that down to the foot, it's pretty inexpensive.
Yeah, that's cheap
for a super strong small line.
That's cheap. Okay, we got a couple more questions. Can you use a Hotknife on Dyneema? It doesn't melt very well.
Yeah, it's not, even when you go to melt the ends, it's not really good. I don't recommend using a Hotknife. It'll work, but it'll work badly. Definitely cut it with the specific scissors or use the ceramic knife.
Can you use Dyneema on anchor road?
Some people do, and there is a lot of different flavors of Dyneema out there. And Dyneema's been around for more than 20 years, maybe close to 30, and they used it in the fishing industry a lot to make fishing nets and large lines. And so yes, you can use it as an anchor rod, but there is specific flavors of Dyneema that are made for that, different types of braids, some that are a little bit more corrosion resistant. Not corrosion resistant, chafe resistant. So, but those lines are difficult to find in smaller sizes. Both James and I in the past were in the Navy, and for very large ships, if you ever go and you see large ships, you see them at a dock, and you see their mooring lines that are green, purple, or blue, those lines are Dyneema, and they're like that big around. Those would be the types of braids that you'd want to use for anchor rod. They're kind of hard to come by in the small enough sizes for, don't take my word for that. I haven't particularly looked for it, but I bet I could find it. But yes, you can use it for a rod.
Marlin spike hitch. Charlie just came through.
Marlin
that was
spike
a Marlin
hitch.
spike hitch. Yeah.
No kidding.
Because that's what you use the damn thing is the Marlin spike.
Exactly, to pull on
nice,
the thing.
Nice job, buddy. Let's see. I bet you two made Santa's naughty list. That's funny.
We did?
Knott, naughty.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
Haha, very funny.
Yeah.
All right, so we had one more. Let's see. I think this is about the time where we're at about an hour. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Man,
what's your website, dude? Where
oh yeah, well
you
you guys can find me on Facebook. Just search Kraken Structures, and you can even search Sea Monster Strong, and you'll find my Facebook page. There's some pics of the things that I've been doing on there. I have a YouTube channel as well. It's just called Kraken. I've got a few videos on there where I was making a few things. I'm trying to get some more content out. I also got into hang gliding recently, so I'm throwing random hang gliding videos in there.
That's awesome, dude.
But
I want to do that.
yeah, so yeah, and if you have any questions, you can shoot me a message via Facebook about what you're planning on doing. I do make these dead eyes for, I can make these for $65 a set. I can make a smaller version for like 30-foot boats, because this is good for like
my boat,
35 footers to 45 footers. Yeah. The strength is based on the shroud. I'm going to judge these by what size shroud you're using. So these can be made for almost any size boat. And then, also shrouds, I can order the types of heat anneal Dyneema if you want to do that. I can do the splicing to do a fully covered chafe sleeve on all the shrouds. I can pre-stretch them, get all the construction stretch out prior to shipping them, things like that. If you live in San Diego, in the San Diego area, as far north as Dana Point, I can come down and look at your boat and give you a kind of a consultation and like what direction you want to go, how much is it really going to cost, and it's going to depend on the boat.
And you can do a rigging plan with people over the internet too. Just charge them hourly.
Exactly. If you'd like a consultation, I can tell you exactly what products to use, what sizes, but I do charge $65 an hour for consultation. So, and that's a lot less than what you're going to get anywhere else. So, but yeah, I can tell you exactly what to buy.
Worth it. He can be your mastermind. Kick him a little bit of money for his time.
If you're willing to put in the labor, I can point you in the right direction and get you where you want to be.
So, we've had a couple questions on our plans, so I'm just going to really quickly go over where we're going and what we're doing. And this is actually going to be probably another live stream, because I did like 18 hours of work setting up maps and having like mapped routes and all kinds of craziness. And the live stream that we did from Ecuador was so laggy that it was just a train wreck. And as soon as you have you guys probably don't know how a live stream works, but I have to use another program that sets up all these little scenes and my other stuff. And if I want to show you guys something on the computer, it's all different things that I got to set up at first. So to have one of those live streams that has a bunch of visual aids is really difficult. And then if it's all laggy and I'm getting comments like, we hate this, we're leaving, I can't stand it, it really just derails the whole thing. So I'm not very good at the whole live stream thing, so we've decided to only have live streams from the United States. But I don't want to waste all that work, so we're going to go over this again with a bunch of maps and cool stuff, and I've got a lot of stuff to show you guys. But long and skinny, we are in Ecuador. The channel is just come through the canal, and we just got the new sails. We sailed around the coast. We went to the Pearl Islands and then sailed up the coast of Panama, spent a long time in that area. Beautiful, by the way. We have some awesome footage. And then we went up to Costa Rica, went all the way up to Nicaragua, and then we left Costa Rica and we went to Isla del Coco. If you guys don't know where that is, look that up. Isla del Coco. It's about 300 miles off the coast of Costa Rica. It used to be a pirate island. For 300 years. The history is awesome. Check it out. Beautiful. We were swimming with tiger sharks and Galapagos sharks and hammerhead sharks. And then we came down to Ecuador, and now we're getting the boat ready to go to the South Pacific. So we're going to go through Easter Island, and then Pitcairn and Gambier, Austral Islands. And then we can split and either go to Hawaii in the north once cyclone season's going to come, or we can run down to New Zealand. And we haven't decided what to do. We would really like to do a weird figure 8 pattern with the whole Pacific and do like the South Pacific, Austral Islands, Line Islands, Hawaii, and then go down the coast of West America, like go from Hawaii to the Pacific Northwest, do the West Coast, all the way down to like Cabo, Acapulco maybe, and then over to Clarion and Clipperton, which are islands off the coast of Mexico that nobody ever goes to, and then cross the Pacific again and do the milk run to the Marquesas and the Tuamotos and all that, you know. So that's the plan for now. Thank you guys for the solar panels. That's huge. That was like, you know, make it or break it deal for, leaving. So massive. Really appreciate that. And there's so much that goes into this decision and into this plan that I can't go into it here. It'll take another hour. So I'm going to go over it in another live stream, like what our planning is, how we're going to do navigation, what the scheduling is going to be like, how the whole process of this decision and the learning curve on this is just insane. I was just telling Luke, it took me like a year to figure it out. It's ridiculous to try to plan this trip.
I've crossed the Pacific 4 times on a Navy destroyer, but doing it on a big power vessel with GPS, radar, all that, completely different from opening that book with Jimmy Cornell's World Cruising Routes, figuring out the trade winds. You've got cyclone seasons. Like, it's no joke. Take a class. Take a navigation class. You'll need it.
Yeah. So if you guys are excited about this like we are and you'd like to help us out, we have a what is it called? Hold on a second. Amazon wish list. It's, hold on a sec. I'll put the link up here as soon as I figure it out. But basically, it's camera equipment, survival equipment, cruising guides, new sailing gloves for me and Kimmy. If you guys want to help out and you want to send us a Christmas present, go on that thing and see it. You know, however much you want to spend. And here we go. Here's the list. I'm gonna put the link to the list on the in the description. So let's hear it from Luke.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you so much, dude. This was fun.
Yeah,
very informative and cool, and I'm sure these guys got a lot out of it. Let's see. Oh, Noah, what's up, brother? Thanks, bro. Oh, dude, you guys are so awesome. Let's see. Was the west coast of Panama and Colombia safe? I didn't do Colombia. We skipped Colombia. That is not safe for cruisers. We will be stopping at Pitcairn Island. Well, we might even do Henderson. Let's see. What else? What about using the Dyneema in cold weather? Yeah.
There is some expansion and contraction with temperature.
Really? So it might contract and make it too tight.
I personally haven't seen it because we live in a very fair weather climate here in San Diego that doesn't really change much. But I have heard from other riggers that there is some expansion and contraction to deal with. From the numbers and the science, it's actually supposed to be less than steel would. So the answer is yes. To what degree? It depends on the type of boat, the diameter of the Dyneema, and how much of a temperature swing are we talking about.
Okay, so if I missed any of your questions, you can email me. You can. I'll be putting out some more videos on unboxing the box that Luke sent to us in Costa Rica, and you can comment on that video. You can comment on any of my rigging videos. I actually really do read all the comments, so you know, try to keep your comments respectful to Kimmy, and yeah, whatever questions you have, we're here for you. And actually, Luke's here for you. I'm really just kind of learning this stuff myself. All right, buddy.
Hey,
we're going to be done.
All right, cool.
Sweet. Peace out, guys. Thanks for all the help. And we're super excited. And look for our live stream again in about a week or two when I figure out the best way to do that. So thank you for SV Desire for moderating this. We really appreciate that. You're awesome. I'm sorry, DV Seer. And I'm sorry, man, I forgot your first name, but this guy moderates for Atticus, for us, for a bunch of sailing channels, and he's a really cool dude. I think you guys did a little, Atticus did a little section on him on one of their live streams, so we really appreciate that, brother. And last question, what kind of bike do you have?
Right now I'm actually down to one motorcycle. It's the first time in my life since I was 18 years old that I only have one. And right now it's a West Coast chopper that I built actually about in 2013. I built that bike. I do have a second one that's not finished yet. So I still have two bikes. But I used to ride a Ducati 848 on the track, And I have this hat because if you know this is Valentino Rossi. He rides for Yamaha. But yeah, so right now I just have one West Coast chopper.
Okay, Dave. Dave is the moderator. Everybody say hi to Dave. S Bonafla just gave me another $100. Dude, you're so
Sweet,
awesome.
man, you're great.
You guys rule, man. I swear. I'm so excited to be bringing you guys some really out of the way crazy stuff. The footage we got from the Isla del Coco is sick. The only thing is I got my drone stolen in Costa Rica, so we don't have any drone footage of it. But really, it's just under the water. That's the jewel there. Dude, wait till you see what's coming on the channel. It's good that we're so far ahead, too, because we're just putting... I mean, sometimes some of our videos are like a month of filming.
Yeah.
And that's cool because they're interesting, and we can show you some beautiful stuff. So... thank you guys. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everybody that donated. I really can't thank you enough. And any questions, email, go to
I'll
Kraken.
be here. Facebook.
Peace out. Peace out, YouTubes.